Hello, and welcome back to our second session in beginning mindfulness and meditation. Last week we talked about the basics of mindfulness and practiced a little bit of meditation with an initial body scan, which is one of the first meditations that most people learn. So, how did it go for you? Did you meditate at least once a day, maybe every day? I know through the last week it's been very busy on my end, and I didn't necessarily get to meditate every day. And my thoughts were definitely more full than they normally are. So I didn't necessarily get to. I definitely had some trouble meditating on those days that I did. So just as a recap, mindfulness, what we're talking about is the basic process of paying attention to our thoughts so that we can um, have control over how we're thinking and processing our thoughts. This is in contrast to the idea of being mindless, where our thoughts just run free in our head. Most of us think that we have control over our thoughts, but we really just tend to just let them run wild, and they just pass, and we don't really have that much control over them. Meditation there then is the practice of being mindful by focusing on the current moment, whether that's um, counting or paying attention to sensations that we feel within parts of our body or our breaths. Today we're going to start off by looking at the what we call Schwartz values. And values determine how we perceive the world. A researcher named Shalom Schwartz set out to try and figure out all the many different values that people around the world might have that govern how they behave and what they believe. So instead of multitudes, after scanning multiple countries and cultures, he found that there's really only 10 that affect everybody, and those are generally these are how we perceive and initially act and think about things. These are what are really important to us. He found there are the values are self-direction, which is basically independence in thought and action. There's stimulation, which is excitement, novelty, and change. There's hedonism, which is personal gratification or focusing on oneself. There's achievement, that's uh, personal success according to what are happen to be our social standards in our culture. There's power, which is social status or control over other people. There's security, which is feeling the feeling of safety or stability. There's conformity, which is the restraint of actions, conforming to those around us and what our cultures have. Um, Hold on just one second.
All right, so we have people here in person to do
Oh, cool.
the meditation.
Yes.
In here.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Do you have someone with you? You come in here. All right, I'll leave that open for you.
Okay. Oh, we have people joining us, so we'll just hold on 1 minute. Hello,
Are you
welcome.
meditating and relaxing without us?
Not yet, but soon. Feel free, come on in.
Are you running the class?
Yes,
His name was on the thing.
Oh, okay.
yes. Sorry, this chair is available too.
No, I'll take that one.
Oh, here, this one's probably more envisioned. We've got this big setup here.
Well, they told me, I asked him, can you get him to send us down there? He was waiting.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's supposed to be in B and then in our meeting room B, and then somebody had a couple of the weeks reserved. So we moved it in here for those 2 weeks, and then I don't think they ended up showing up today. So
No, there's the chairs are all pushed in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we figured it wasn't happening.
so welcome.
Hello.
I was kind of recapping what we talked about last week, which was
We don't
be-
pay words anyway.
which is fine.
Was there a last week? Why did I
yeah,
not know that?
I don't know.
Didn't look at the calendar.
So last week we basically touched on the basics of what mindfulness is, which is basically the idea that most people just let thoughts run in their head. We don't necessarily pay attention to them or have much control of them. So mindfulness is the practice of trying to address the thoughts and be cognizant of what we're actually thinking, paying attention to what we have running through our head. The opposite of that is mindlessness, where you just let things run. And by paying attention to our thoughts, we can process them in a more objective manner without necessarily acting on them. And meditation then is the practice of being mindful. And we do that by usually focusing on the current moment, whether that's last week we did a body scan, which is focusing on how different parts of our body feel, and just being present and focusing on things like how our legs feel, how our feet feel, and processing each of those through our body. Today we're going to be working on focusing on our breath. But one of the things that we were going to do today, we're starting to talk about values, which are the things that we hold as sort of the tenets for who we are. And there was a researcher named Shalom Schwartz who did research around the world. I believe it was 80 countries he looked at, expecting to find the multitudes of different values that all the different cultures hold within the world. And he found out that everybody in the world really just focuses on 10. They may appear differently within different countries, but there's really just 10 values. And so these values determine how we initially perceive things and how we tend to act on things, what we hold dear to ourselves. The values are things like self-direction, which is independence in thought, stimulation, which is, of course, excitement, novelty, change, hedonism, which is gratification for personal goals, achievement, gaining success within your social status, gaining power, which is, again, either social status or control of other people, security, the feeling of safety or stability, conformity, which is the restraint of actions, following along with the people around you and the social status around you, tradition, which is respecting commitment to customs and culture, benevolence, which is preserving the welfare around us, and universalism, which is understanding and appreciating and protecting the people around us. These are not necessarily these are how we internally want to behave. They're not a feeling. It's not happiness or a feeling in any particular way. And it is focused on us. You can't include popularity because you can't control how other people view you. So you can't value being popular because that depends on how other people act. I put in the notes and I'll copy it into the chat here, but I also have these for people who are with us. We were actually going to go through and take the test here to see what your actual values are. So here you go. And you just rate on this scale by saying how much you agree or disagree. And I always recommend on tests like this to take the question or take the response that feels right initially. Don't overthink, just take your first.
Just the first gut reaction.
Yes. Oops. So we have a tendency to shift things as we think more about them.
Exactly.
Okay, so I put this in the description, and I will put this into the online chat here as well. I'll just give you a few minutes.
This isn't going anywhere. Oh, no. Sorry, some are kind of funny.
And if somebody happens, I am recording this, so if somebody happens, I'm going to say, if somebody happens to be watching this in the future, I will in some way try and pop this forward so you're not just watching me for a period of minutes here. Maybe I'll provide a link in the description to pop ahead, or I'll just say how long it took.
You didn't already want
So what did you find?
what?
What did you find? Or do you want, if you care to share?
I'm low on tradition, power, achievement, and high on self-direction and universality.
Mm.
Middling on benevolence and security and stimulation.
Yeah, and everybody's is going to be different. It is fascinating.
Why can
Mine personally is very high. I tend to be high on three things, which are benevolence, universalism, and achievement, which is an interesting combination. The achievement being tossed in there, I think, is weird.
You know something? When you're my age, achievement will not be as high.
Yep.
I mean, I passed those questions about getting ahead in my field. I passed that.
Yeah.
I might have at one time.
Yes.
Right. So,
And it is important to note with these that they will change.
Yeah.
The age is one of the occurrences that'll shift you probably away from things like achievement or maybe even power as you
Yeah.
get older. Having a trauma of some sort is probably going to increase your need for security and improve that. So they're not static. They're not going to stay the same.
when you're not in the workplace, your benevolence might go up because you're not jockey. You know,
Sure, yeah.
You see people in a different way.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm at the personality test, just press open.
Let me see.
Didn't you get that circle with the?
Well, I got the circle, yeah.
That
Yeah.
shows where
I
your
just haven't read it.
high points and your.
Can't see. Conformity, basically pretty high. Benevolence. Don't feel secure in our country. I don't know. I need stimulation. Don't need power. Self-directed.
So even.
Am I
those-
reading
even
it
those-
wrong?
No, but those strong ones aren't even all the way, you know what I mean? They're
Oh,
still
right,
fairly
no.
mild.
Everything's mild.
Yeah, you're almost like, nothing like too far out of the circle except stimulation.
Yeah.
Maybe, and conformity, those two things.
Right. I can't imagine anybody getting a peak.
What?
I can't imagine anybody going up that too high.
Well, I think you were pretty high on your
Yeah, I am.
on the one. Yeah.
On which one? Sam?
Self-direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't follow the rules. I don't. I never have.
So yeah, so how this affects mindfulness is, of course, these are going to affect how we think about things. I spoke last time about Buddhism because that's sort of the foundation of the general mindfulness practice currently. Buddhism is more of is not a religion as of such. It's more of the practice of mindfulness. The Buddha was actually a historical figure who just taught meditation and mindfulness. And it was labeled sort of a religion when the Western cultures interacted with them, and they saw the statues, which were more of a reminder of being mindful than they were of any sort of iconography as a deity. The Buddha would definitely dislike being considered a religious figure in any way. So within that idea, they have the terms which are wholesome thoughts and unwholesome thoughts. Wholesome thoughts are basically things which make you happy or promote the freedom or peace of mind. So these are things that are going to conform with your values or reinforce your values. Whereas unwholesome, they consider are thoughts that promote suffering or reduce your freedom of mind or your peace of mind, the things that are going to really affect you in a poor way. And my example for this is I drive to work every day on I-80. So my chance of meeting a driver that I do not agree with is very high. But one of my strong values is benevolence, being kind towards other people. So when I start mulling over, how somebody behaves on the road, that really takes down my happiness and my freedom of mind. I mull it over. I get bogged down in those negative thoughts. And so it's important for me to remember my focus on benevolence and trying to wish that person well. Maybe they're very stressed out. Maybe they are new to the area. So one of the things that I try and do is, wish them well. Try and go the opposite direction. It's also important to note that when you talk to people who have different values, their reaction to things may be different. So one of we're coming into an election year, we have to remember that people will see different political figures in different lights based on what their value systems are. It also helps. We can also agree on things, but get into conflict with somebody because we are expressing the same end result in different values. One of the things that comes up generally is we may all care about preservation of the land in some regards. Some people may worry about it in terms of life security, being able to farm and preserve their way of life, whereas some people may be more on the term of universality or benevolence, and you would have somebody voice care for the land as caring for it, whereas somebody else might feel more akin to pride or trying to preserve our life system in Iowa by taking care of the nature around it. So we can actually agree while disagreeing just because of how we voice different ideas. And so the whole concept that we discussed a little bit last week is we want to keep in mind how we interact with our thoughts. If you have a thought that's troubling, like me with drivers, we don't want to judge that as being a good or a bad thought. It may be something that promotes my negative thoughts, but negative thoughts can sometimes be useful. You don't want to grade them as being good or a bad thing. It's not me being upset at a driver for cutting me off isn't a good or a bad thing. It just is a thought that occurs. If it's something that conflicts with your value system or that you perceive as being not useful, you just let it go. You acknowledge the thought and then just let it pass. Negative thoughts, if you're worrying about something, can often indicate that there's additional work or attention that needs to be done in that direction. But either negative or positive or neutral thoughts are just natural. And that's just, again, we acknowledge them, see what we can do with them, and then let them go. But today, for our meditation and our practice for mindfulness, we're going to do breath focus. It's a relaxation technique, and we're going to do 4-7-8 breathing. If anybody's heard of that, breathing is one of the things that is, I think it's extremely useful. I have another meditation that we're going to do next week that probably aligns more with values, but 4-7-8 breathing I find to be incredibly useful. So I wanted to put that earlier in our series here. Breathing and focusing on your breathing actually has the benefit of calming both our mind and our body. It will calm our thoughts as well as actually reducing stress responses like heart rate, our length of breath, as well as our adrenaline. And breath focus is used commonly in the world, even though we might not consider it part of mindfulness. Special forces and police and law enforcement make use of what they call box breathing, which is usually a breathe in of 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold for, in stressful situations, it'll help them calm down. It's not my particular choice. I don't like holding my breath after having breathed out. It's just not finding calming, but the usefulness of breath focus is, one, it is very calming. 2, you always have it with you. You always have your breath to focus on. And you can often breathe in this way without being conspicuous. So it's something that you can make use of throughout your day without feeling like you're calling any special attention to yourself. You might also notice that another breath focus that's commonly used is when a mother is giving birth, they will tell them to breathe in a specific way. So again, that helps calm and reduce the stress response on the body. So we're going to go ahead and begin. We want to pay attention to our breaths. And since we're going to be paying attention to our breaths and possibly affecting it, we do want to say that at any point, if you do have any discomfort, or if you feel lightheaded or anything of that sort, just come back to normal and just return to your normal breathing. The idea with meditation is that we want to focus on what we're focusing on in particular. Thoughts will occur in our head. That's not a good or a bad thing. Thoughts will just occur. We acknowledge them and then we let them go. You can visualize that as just kind of like letting your thought float off, or you can, I often look at it like pulling my attention with a bungee cord, like just tugging it back into focus. So we're going to settle in we're going to close our eyes. Meditation can occur with your eyes open, but often for the starting, it's easier with eyes closed. So we're going to start the meditation by taking 3 deep breaths. And again. And one more. Let's focus first on the muscles around our eyes and our jaw and try and relax those. It's fine. With each exhale, we just ask those muscles to calm a little bit. We're going to relax our neck and our shoulders. We're going to try and remember to keep our back straight, not for posture, but just to really open up our lungs for breath. If you want to, you can put your right hand over your heart or your chest and your left hand on your stomach and actually feel the effect that your breath has on your body. And let's bring our focus to our mouth and our nose and feel the cool air as it comes in and the slightly warmer air as it goes out. And we don't want to be trying to affect our breath in any way yet. But as it comes in, just say in your head, and then think the word out as you exhale. So in and out. And in and out. And so now we're going to try moving on to our 4-7-8 breathing, which is simply breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 7 seconds, and then breathing out for 8 seconds. And you can use whatever count you want for 4, 7, and 8. I often use the feeling of my heartbeat to determine how long I'm holding it. So we'll go in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'll let you keep going with your own count. So let's start coming back from that and just again start getting our breath back to our normal rhythm. Again, just focusing on in and out. Let's take 3 deep breaths in and again. And one more time. And as you feel ready, feel free to start opening your eyes and coming back to normal. Okay, excellent. Again, it's always great to celebrate your success over having given yourself uh, given yourself that time to focus on yourself, which we don't often do. One thing that we can do is when our minds do slip away during meditation is to congratulate ourselves when we bring it back, if you want to, um, because that's what the whole practice is being aware of our thoughts. So the process of actually identifying that your mind has slipped and bringing it back is the success of meditation.
Mhm.
So in closing, I have homework for this week. Um, One of the things that we can add mindfulness to is our daily tasks, whatever we are doing. I find it makes it much easier to get through some of those mundane tasks that we do, doing the dishes, folding laundry, vacuuming. It can take a new value by practicing mindfulness and meditation through those. So if you're folding laundry, you can take a second and feel what each piece of clothing actually feels like. Take time to notice what the actual color of it is. Um, when you're vacuuming or sweeping floors, feel um, how the action of the vacuum or the broom feels on the floor. Notice how each pass changes the actual look of the floor. Since we're going to be going into nice weather as of this recording, you can also take a walk outside and notice things as you walk. You can pay attention to how your feet feel as they touch the pavement or the grass, if you're lucky enough to have an extended period of grass to walk on. You can take, and when I walk outside here during lunch, I often try and listen to the birds, and you try and pick out one bird and notice how it changes as you go past it, what each chirp sounds like, if it's the same chirp, and just appreciating the fact that you're outside and being able to listen to the birds at this point in the year, as opposed to being holed up in a very cold, very cold. Well, today it's very cold, but normally it is. We don't usually have as good as weather as we have. So just feeling the warmth on your skin is also a nice piece of focus. So that's what I have today. My goal is always to try and keep this within 30 to 45 minutes for sort of a lunch hour type of thing. I know we have a couple people online. Thank you for attending. And I hope everybody has had a good session. And I hope to see you back next week.
Okay.
So how did it go?